By the time you arrived at work today, a dozen multi-million-dollar corporations basically mapped out this highly calculated psychological attack on your wallet.
Oh, absolutely. And you probably didn't even notice it happening.
Right. You probably didn't. In fact, you probably hummed along to it. I mean, think about it for a second. You check your phone in the morning, and there's a promotional SMS from your bank.
Just sitting right there on the lock screen.
Exactly. Then you drive to work, you pass a massive billboard for, a new smartphone. Maybe you catch a cricket highlight on your phone, and every single time the captain takes a swing, that bright red NRF sticker is just perfectly centered on the bat.
It's unavoidable.
It is. And then completely unprompted, you find yourself humming, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it.
The McDonald's jingle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just a catchy tune. It's an actual piece of audio architecture.
Audio architecture, I like that.
It really is. I mean, it is practically hardwired into your neurological pathways at this point.
It just pops into your head out of nowhere. But why? Why is it that no matter where you look, messages from these brands are coming at you from all directions with this, this eerie consistency?
Because it's all planned. Every bit of it.
Which brings us to our topic. Welcome to our deep dive. Our mission today is to decode the invisible blueprints of modern persuasion. We are unpacking the frameworks of integrated marketing communication, or IMC, to see exactly how the world's biggest brands operate.
And it's an incredibly powerful framework to look at because it strips away the supposed, magic of advertising.
Right, pulls back the curtain.
Exactly. It exposes the raw mechanics. Once you understand IMC, you start to see the gears turning behind every single billboard and every pop-up ad you scroll past.
And by the end of this deep dive, you are going to understand exactly how brands map out this communication to inform, remind, and ultimately persuade you.
You'll be looking at the world totally differently.
That's the goal, to transform you from a passive consumer into a highly informed observer of the marketing world. So let's start at the absolute foundation. We know the classic 4 Ps of marketing, right? Product, price, place, and promotion.
Right, the core pillars.
Yeah. But today, we are zeroing in entirely on promotion.
Because promotion is essentially the communication arm of that marketing mix. But before we get to the flashy TV spots and the billboards, we have to look at the baseline communication process itself.
Okay, the baseline, how does that work?
It's a continuous loop. It always starts with a sender, which is the brand. And the brand has an idea, but they can't just beam that idea directly into your head.
As much as they'd probably love to.
Oh, they would absolutely love that. But they can't. So they have to engage in what's called encoding, which basically means taking an abstract concept like durability or speed and turning it into words, pictures, symbols, or even just a specific color.
Like deciding to use a really heavy, bold red font on a cricket bat instead of writing a long, boring paragraph explaining the quality of the rubber.
Precisely. You encode the idea into a digestible format. Then that encoded message travels through a media channel. So that's your TV, print, social media.
Right.
Next, it reaches the receiver, which is you, the consumer. But here is the critical variable. You have to decode it.
So it's on me now.
Yes. You interpret that message based on your own past experiences, your biases, your perceptions. If the brand encodes luxury using a minimalist black and white ad, but you decode it as, pretentious and overpriced,
then it didn't work. The communication failed.
Exactly. It failed completely. And finally, the loop is completed by feedback, which for a brand usually translates to a measurable action. So sales, inquiries, or sometimes a giant wave of angry tweets.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to actually send these messages, brands have a promotional toolbox. And traditionally, there are 4 main pillars in this box.
Yes, the classic 4.
Oh, right. You have advertising, public relations, sales promotion, and personal selling. If I'm looking at this in the context of our daily lives, it's almost like different levels of human interaction. So advertising is basically like standing in a crowded public square with a megaphone.
That's a great way to picture it.
You have massive reach, and you control exactly what you say.
But the drawback there is that it's a completely one-way street. You are shouting at the crowd, you're not talking to them, and buying that megaphone, buying that prime airtime is incredibly expensive.
Right, highly expensive. So then you try the second tool, which is PR, or publicity. Following my analogy, PR isn't you with the megaphone. It's getting the most popular person in the room to vouch for you organically.
Which is incredibly credible. I mean, when a reputable news outlet writes a positive story about your company or, a trusted public figure uses your product, consumers just naturally lower their defenses.
Because it doesn't feel like an ad.
Exactly. It's technically free, but the trade-off is massive. You surrender control. You simply cannot dictate exactly what that popular person says about you.
And I mean, let's be real here. Isn't PR becoming a lot less credible today?
In what sense?
Well, consumers are highly cynical now. We know that influencers are getting paid, even if it's disguised as an organic review. We know that PR firms actively pitch those morning news stories.
That is a very sharp observation. And it's exactly why PR teams today are having to work so much harder. They have to build genuine, long-term narratives rather than just relying on quick stunts.
But let's look at the third tool, sales promotion.
Sales promotion. This is essentially bribing someone with a cookie to get them to listen to you.
That's one way to put it.
It's the short-term incentives,
Yeah.
Buy two, get one free, or a 20% off discount code for a pizza delivery. It guarantees a direct, immediate spike in sales.
It does, but what is the psychological risk there? If you overuse sales promotions, you actively destroy your brand's equity.
Really? Just by giving discounts? Yeah, because you train the consumer's brain to believe that your product isn't actually worth the full price. Think of retailers who always have a going out of business sale or a clearance event.
Oh, right. I would never buy something at full price from them because I know, like, a massive discount is always just a week away.
Exactly. You've been trained. Which leaves the final tool in the traditional box personal selling. This is the salesperson greeting you at the car showroom, offering you an espresso, taking you out on a test drive.
So it's a deep one-on-one conversation.
It is highly targeted, highly interactive, and honestly by far the most effective tool for complex persuasion. I mean, the salesperson can read your body language and adjust the pitch in real time.
But the cost has to be insane.
Oh, the math is brutal. It is the most expensive tool per contact. You simply cannot reach a mass market of 10 million people by buying them all a cup of coffee and chatting for an hour.
So if I'm a chief marketing officer, I'm looking at this toolbox and I'm stressed.
Why is that?
Because every single tool has a fatal flaw. Advertising is too cluttered. PR is totally uncontrollable. Sales promotions destroy my brand value over time. And personal selling is just mathematically impossible to scale.
What's fascinating here is that acknowledging those exact fatal flaws is the catalyst for modern marketing. Relying on just one tool is a guaranteed recipe for failure.
So they have to combine them.
Exactly. And that brings us to the core concept of our research today, IMC, Integrated Marketing Communication. It is the strategic integration of all these promotional elements so the brand is sending one unified, continuous message.
And by doing that, they cancel out the weaknesses of the individual tool.
Yes, and they amplify their strengths.
And the toolbox has expanded way beyond those four traditional pillars now, right? I mean, we've got digital marketing, out of home, or OOSH advertising, which are your giant highway billboards and transit ads, and point of sale ads.
Point of sale or POS ads. Those are crucial. Those are the little cardboard displays inside your shopping cart or the candy racks right at the checkout counter.
Oh, the impulse buy zone?
Exactly. They're specifically engineered to capture you at the exact moment your wallet is literally already open.
Wow. Add event sponsorships to that list, too. Think like MPL Sports sponsoring the Indian national cricket team. It's just this massive cross-media ecosystem.
It really is.
To really visualize how all these tools work together, let's track a hypothetical product launch that agencies often use as a whiteboard example.
The Drivo scooter.
Yeah, the Drivo. It's a sleek, new, urban, gearless scooter called the Drivo.
The Drivo journey is the perfect illustration of IMC synergy. Let's map it out. So you wake up, you open the morning newspaper or your news app, and there is a premium full-page ad for the Drivo scooter.
Pure advertising.
Right. It creates initial mass cognitive awareness.
Then you're driving to work, you stop at a traffic signal, and boom, a massive OO billboard for Drivo is staring right at you.
Reinforcing the visual aesthetic.
Yeah. And then at lunch, you're scrolling through social media, a digital pop-up ad appears, but this time it's a short video of the scooter weaving through terrible city traffic.
Which is brilliant because digital marketing allows for deeper engagement and actual data tracking.
Then you leave the office, and in your building's parking lot, the company has set up a physical canopy tent with a real Drivo scooter sitting right there. There's a rep handing out brochures, offering test rides.
So now we have event marketing and personal selling working in tandem.
And finally, you go home, you turn on a cricket match, and during the commercial break, a high-production TV spot plays, tying the whole lifestyle together.
So throughout a single day, the brand has surrounded you with the exact same core message. but they use different tools perfectly tailored to your physical location and your state of mind at that specific moment.
There is an old industry analogy for this that I just love. They compare IMC to that childhood experiment where you hold a magnifying glass under the sun.
Oh, right.
You take all these scattered, diffuse rays of light, the billboards, the TV ads, the digital pop-ups, you pass them through the strategic lens of IMC, and you focus them into one tiny, intense point of heat.
It's a very vivid image.
But so, what does this all mean for the consumer? I mean, is IMC just the brand using a magnifying glass to focus all its heat directly onto us until we basically catch fire and buy the product?
I love that analogy, but we need to refine the outcome a bit. Because the goal of IMC isn't about spamming the consumer or burning them out with overwhelming heat. It's strictly about clarity and synergy.
Clarity, okay.
Because we live in a highly fragmented, incredibly noisy marketplace. If the newspaper ad said the scooter was an eco-friendly commuter vehicle, but then the TV ad only showed it doing, like, high-speed stunts.
Oh, the consumer decodes a contradiction. They get confused.
Exactly. They get confused and they tune out. IMC ensures the heat, the core identity of the product, is perfectly calibrated so the consumer never receives conflicting signals.
Okay, but if IMC is this incredibly powerful magnifying glass, who is holding it? Like, who decides exactly where to point it, and how much is this massive multi-channel assault actually going to cost? There has to be a master plan.
There is a very rigid architecture to it. It's built on a 6-step IMC planning process.
6 steps. Let's hear them.
It always starts with step 1, situational analysis. The brand has to ruthlessly evaluate where they currently stand in the market and who their competitors are.
Makes sense.
Step 2 is defining the target market. Who exactly are we talking to? Step 3 is setting the objectives. Are we trying to launch a new product or just remind people we still exist? And then step 4 is the critical pivot point, the budget.
Wait, hold on. Why is budget step 4? Before step 5, which I assume is the actual strategy, shouldn't you figure out your grand strategy first and then ask the finance department for the money to pay for it?
That is such a common misconception. But in the real world of marketing, form follows funding.
Form follows funding.
You cannot build a realistic strategy without knowing the exact parameters of your fuel. I mean, if you design a brilliant strategy that relies on a massive Super Bowl commercial, but your budget is only $50,000.
You've wasted months of planning.
Exactly. The budget dictates the reality of the tools you can actually afford. So once the budget is locked in step 4, you move to step 5, strategy and implementation. That's where you select the tools and roll them out. And finally, step 6 is evaluation, measuring the data to see if the whole thing actually worked.
But when they are in step 5, picking those tools, they aren't just throwing darts at a board, right?
Not at all. The deciding factors are incredibly rigid and calculated. The first factor is the product category. If you are selling heavy industrial machinery, like steel gearboxes, you are not going to buy a TV commercial during a reality show.
Right, that makes no sense.
You rely heavily on personal selling and B2B trade shows. But if you're selling an everyday convenience good, like shampoo, you lean entirely into mass media advertising and point-of-sale promotions.
And demographics and geography dictate the tools too. Like, if you're targeting a hyper-local or rural market, you might have to rely on wall paintings or what the industry calls BTL activities.
Yes, below-the-line marketing. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the line in marketing essentially separates mass, untargeted communication, like a national TV broadcast, from highly targeted direct communication.
So below the line means you are doing direct mailers, local product demos, or street-level activations.
Exactly. It's essential in areas with lower digital penetration or distinct local dialects.
And the product lifecycle plays a huge role here. If you are launching a brand new energy drink, you need a massive awareness campaign, heavy advertising, heavy PR.
You have to make a splash.
Right. But if you are a mature brand that's been around for 30 years, you might just drop a quick sales promotion, like a 10% off coupon, just to give your quarterly numbers a quick jolt.
That's exactly how they adjust the dials.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. What happens when the rules of the game fundamentally change? Like, what does a brand do when government regulations literally ban them from advertising their product?
Regulated categories.
Yeah. I'm talking about strictly regulated categories like pharmaceuticals or alcohol. How does IMC work when your magnifying glass is legally confiscated?
That is where the strategy has to evolve from being merely efficient to being highly creative. Regulatory constraints force brands to reweight their promotional toolbox entirely.
Give me an example.
Take prescription pharmaceutical products. Mass media consumer advertising is generally prohibited in many regions, so they completely bypass the advertising pillar.
They just skip it entirely.
They have to. Instead, they shift their entire multi-million-dollar budget into the personal selling pillar. They deploy armies of medical representatives to target doctors directly, educating them on the drug's efficacy to generate prescriptions.
Wow. And for alcohol, it's even wilder. Direct advertising of liquor is banned in various markets, so they use what's called surrogate advertising.
Right, we see it all the time.
You do. Since they can't show a bottle of whiskey on TV, a brand like Imperial Blue will suddenly launch a massive ad campaign promoting music CDs or club soda, all under their famous "Men Will Be Men" slogan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the underlying objective has absolutely nothing to do with selling music CDs.
Obviously not.
The goal is cognitive retention. They're keeping the brand name, the font, the colors, and the emotional aesthetic alive in the consumer's mind. So later, when that consumer walks into a store and looks at a wall of heavily regulated products.
The Imperial Blue label triggers a subconscious feeling of familiarity.
Precisely.
It is brilliantly sneaky, which brings up a massive question. We know the tools, we know the 6-step master plan, and we know how they maneuver around legal roadblocks. But how does this actually trigger a change inside our actual brains?
The psychology of it.
Yeah. How do they move us from just passively staring at a billboard to actually pulling out a credit card?
Well, this brings us to the psychology of demand creation. Marketers don't just guess. They rely on heavily researched cognitive frameworks to understand how a human being processes information.
Like the AIDA model.
Right. AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. That's a classic one. But to really understand the mechanics, we need to look at a pivotal framework developed in 1961 by Robert Lavage and Gary Steiner.
Okay, what's it called?
It's known as the hierarchy of effects model.
The HOE model. Agencies often use a classic whiteboard scenario with a hypothetical toothpaste brand. Let's call it Smiley toothpaste. To explain how this works, I want to walk through it because the psychology here is just fascinating.
Please do. Break down the steps.
So step 1 in the hierarchy of effects is pure cognition. It's awareness and knowledge. I mean, you cannot buy Smiley toothpaste if you literally don't know it exists.
Obviously.
Right. So the brand has to use IMC to cut through the noise of established competitors. Let's call them Shiny, Whitey, and Senso. They need to plant the word smiley in your brain.
Then once they establish that cognitive baseline, step 2 forces a transition from the cognitive to the affective.
The affective, so feelings.
Exactly. This is about your feelings. The stage is liking and preference. This is where the IMC strategy pivots to highlight the product's unique selling proposition, or USP.
Why is smiley better?
Right. Maybe it has a groundbreaking Ayurvedic formula, or maybe it's completely chemical-free. The goal isn't just to inform you anymore. The goal is to make you emotionally prefer Smiley over the toothpaste you currently use.
Right. And then the final step is conative, the actual behavior. This is conviction and purchase. IMC here is all about eliminating friction.
Making it easy to say yes.
Yeah. It builds trust, it clears any lingering doubts through guarantees or free samples, and it triggers the physical action of buying the tube. And, you know, when I look at this cognitive, affective, conative flow, honestly, it's exactly like dating.
How so? I mean, I see the connection, but explain.
Think about the mechanics of human relationships. You don't just walk up to a total stranger on the very first date and ask them to marry you.
No, that would be terrifying.
It would be insane, and they would run away. Asking to marry them is the action or purchase stage. First, you have to introduce yourself and just make sure they know you exist. That's the awareness stage.
Right, and you really can't rush it.
Exactly. Then, over the next few dates, you try to show off your best traits. You highlight your sense of humor or your career, your USP, basically hoping they start to actually like you. That's liking and preference.
Amen.
Only after you've built real emotional trust over a long period of time do you ask for that ultimate commitment, which is conviction.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, your dating analogy perfectly exposes why so many amateur marketing campaigns fail.
Because they rush it.
Yes. If a brand skips a step in the hierarchy of effects, the entire IMC strategy collapses. Imagine a brand blasting out a sales promotion like a massive discount code, essentially demanding the action of a purchase before the consumer even has awareness of what the product actually does.
It feels aggressive.
It feels aggressive, confusing, and it falls flat. Lavage and Steiner proved that marketing is a deeply psychological, sequential process. You are carefully guiding the consumer's brain through a very specific sequence of logical and emotional states.
Which is, frankly, a little terrifying when you stop and think about who is pulling the strings on this psychological journey.
Yeah.
Because it's not just one person sitting in a dark room brainstorming.
Yeah.
The ecosystem that manages this is massive. It is a multi-layered industry.
It is a titan of an industry. Let's look at the stakeholders for a second. The first layer consists of the advertisers themselves.
The big brand.
Right. These are the mega brands, the manufacturers like Apple, Nike, Reliance, or Unilever. They manufacture the physical product, but they very rarely have the internal expertise to build the complex psychological campaigns we just analyzed.
So they outsource it. They hire the second layer, the ad agencies.
Exactly.
This ranges from massive full-service global giants to highly specialized creative boutiques. We're talking about firms filled with behavioral psychologists, data analysts, and copywriters. They are the ones who actually craft the message.
They hold the magnifying glass.
Yes. They decide exactly what color the smiley toothpaste ad needs to be to maximize that transition into the liking and preference stage.
And once the weapon is built, the agencies have to buy the battlefield. That's the third layer.
Yeah.
The media houses. These are the massive conglomerates that own the television networks, the streaming platforms, the social media algorithms, and the physical billboards. They provide the channels that deliver the carefully crafted psychological message to the public.
Okay, so let me get this straight. On one side, you have these massive multinational corporate brands partnering with multi-million-dollar ad agencies filled with behavioral experts who then pay media empires billions of dollars to surround us with perfectly coded, inescapable messages.
That is the ecosystem, yes.
Are we just totally defenseless against this? Because it feels like the consumer is entirely outgunned here.
It is very easy to feel overwhelmed when you look at the sheer scale of the IMC ecosystem. But the system does have built-in counterbalances.
Like what?
First, you have the regulators. In many markets, there are bodies like the Advertising Standards Council or similar self-regulatory voluntary organizations. They actively monitor this massive industry to ensure that the psychological tactics don't cross the line into deception.
So they fact-check the claims.
They ensure claims are fair, unbiased, and backed by science. If a brand lies about their USP, the regulators step in. But more importantly, the consumer is never defenseless because the consumer is the ultimate stakeholder.
Meaning at the end of the day, we hold the power of the purse.
Exactly. The billions of dollars spent on synergy, the flawless execution of the six-step planning processes, the brilliant application of the hierarchy of effects models, all of it means absolutely nothing if the consumer simply looks at the product, decides it does not add value to their life, and chooses not to engage.
The buck stops with us.
It really does. The entire multi-billion-dollar ecosystem orbits around the gravity of the consumer's final choice.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring this all together. We started by looking at an invisible, highly structured web of integrated marketing communication that surrounds us every single day. From that targeted billboard on your morning commute to the buy one, get one free display strategically placed at the checkout counter. None of it is accidental.
Not a single piece of it.
It is all part of a highly calculated master plan designed by specialized agencies to move your brain through a rigid psychological journey. From the initial spark of cognitive awareness all the way down to the behavioral conviction required to swipe your card.
And yet, as sophisticated and pervasive as that web is, you remain the most important piece of the puzzle. Every single tool in the promotional mix exists solely to try and earn your yes.
So we want to leave you with a new lens for looking at the world. The next time you see an ad for a product, maybe you hear that McDonald's jingle or see a sponsored post on your feed, don't just look at what they are selling.
Look at how they're selling it.
Exactly. Look closely at the mechanics. Notice where you are seeing it, when you are seeing it, and try to remember what other ads from that same brand you've seen across different mediums today.
Map out their IMC strategy for yourself.
Yeah. Ask yourself, at what specific step in the hierarchy of effects is this brand trying to catch me right now? Are they just introducing themselves on a first date, or are they aggressively trying to close the deal? Think about that the next time you unlock your phone.